Welcome back. Johannesburg residents are demanding answers from the municipality after power outages over the weekend. City authorities announced there would be no load shedding. The Democratic Alliance calls this a stunning turn of events after initially refusing to cut power, even threatening to go to court on the matter. This morning, City Power reported that Eskom had a valid reason why the city should comply and assist in their capacity challenges. For more on this, we are joined by the DA City of Johannesburg's mayoral candidate, Dr. Mpho Phalatse. Dr. Phalatse, thank you for making time. I saw your statement and you're calling for the mayor of Johannesburg to resign. Why?
Well, this misinformation peddling is quite deliberate. I don't think the mayor is confused at all. I think the mayor knows exactly what's going on and he's just taking advantage of the innocence of our unsuspecting residents ahead of an election by promising them things that he knows very well he will not be able to deliver.
So City Power says that this is not really an about 10. It's more the city coming to the rescue of Eskom. So they're saying Eskom approached them and said, because of our capacity constraints, please implement load shedding to help us ease the pressure on the national grid. So that almost 200 megawatt from Kelvin that we're going to be used to avoid load shedding in the city is now used to implement the national grid. That's the explanation I had from City Power this morning.
So again, that's incorrect information, and I don't know why City Power is doing this. They need to tell us the truth. What's happening is the Kelvin deal is a 20-year contract that's been in existence for years. Kelvin has been supplying about an average of 180 megawatts to the city daily, and this contract was due to come to an end around November this year. This extension was a planned extension for continuity, and it's just an extension. It's a 2-year extension of what's already been in existence. Now, in terms of capacity, that almost 180 megawatts daily is not enough to offset load shedding. It's just to beef up our capacity under normal circumstances, so in a no load shedding state. It's not sufficient, and the mayor knows that, and City Power knows that. We are misleading residents into thinking that we've somehow procured additional capacity which is able to offset load shedding, but in fact we have not. This Kelvin deal is just a continuity. So there's nothing new that's going to be happening in the next 2 years in terms of the Kelvin deal.
All right, so just to clarify then, Dr. Phalatse, you're saying that there's nothing new with the agreement and this deal that's been signed between the City of Johannesburg and the Kelvin power station, because I remember the city going quite big on this one. Even the ANC released a statement on it. They said this is big news. It's going to make a big difference in Gauteng. We had even the City of Johannesburg releasing a statement on it. I think Eskom came up and clarified, because in the beginning, the ANC and I think the mayor as well were suggesting that this is also part of the agreement to take over the distribution of electricity to some of the communities in Johannesburg that are still under Eskom. But what you are telling us is there was nothing ever new. This was simply the city renewing an agreement that had already existed.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This was a 20-year agreement. It's expiring in November. We've extended in terms of the Municipal Finance Management Act. We can only extend for a further 2 years while we work on a longer-term plan. So we're not adding additional capacity to the grid. Therefore, we do not have capacity to offset load shedding. And we should stop misrepresenting facts to mislead voters ahead of an election. I believe that's what's happening here, because I don't think the mayor or the ANC are confused about the facts.
So City Power is expected, my understanding is expected to meet with Eskom's technical team this afternoon to present their case on why they want to be excluded from load shedding. You are not necessarily against this as a principle as the DA, because I mean, even in the Western Cape, it's already happening where, you know, the city can offset when there is, I think, stage 1 of load shedding. But what you are against is the misrepresentation of facts. So what do you then think could be discussed this afternoon? Because if this 180 megawatts of electricity that you say the Kelvin power station has been supplying to the city, if this has been the case and City Power has been unable to really offset us as the residents of the city against load shedding, what exactly then is going to be discussed this afternoon and this possibility of us being protected from load shedding when Eskom wants it implemented?
I have no idea what this afternoon's meeting is about. I wish I knew as well. The only way we'd be able to offset load shedding is if we increase capacity, which we have not done. All we've done is extended a pre-existing contract. The capacity is the same. Therefore, we don't have adequate capacity at the moment to offset load shedding. There could be future plans. I don't know. But people must not misrepresent facts and say that what's happening with Calvin is actually what's going to offset load shedding. We're not there yet, and we should not promise our voters lies.
So what do you understand, Dr. Phalatse, to be the impact of the additional supply from the Calvin power station there? Because if you say it's impossible for the city to offset load shedding using additional capacity from that power station, what do you think has been the impact over the last couple of years that this agreement has been in place, as you say?
So we have insufficient capacity as it is. This is now without load shedding, just under normal circumstances. And this additional capacity from Calvin has been assisting us to keep the lights on under normal circumstances. But as far as load shedding is concerned, it's never been sufficient to offset load shedding. And that's why we've always had load shedding. And that's why we were supposed to be load shed even now when Eskom announced it. So there's nothing that's changed in terms of what we're receiving from Calvin, and therefore we're still not in a position to offset load shedding. We are, however, supplementing our normal energy reserves or our normal supplies. That's all we're doing, just to keep the lights on a normal day, but it's got nothing to do with when we have load shedding.
Yeah, and we'll get some clarity from City Power about this. I managed to find a statement that the ANC released, and they indicated that the power purchase agreement signed by the executive mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Mpho Phalatse, and Gauteng Premier David Makhura at the Calvin Power Station is to provide an additional 100 megawatt from 80 megawatt to the residents and businesses of Johannesburg. And they said that this is going to be a solid foundation in which the province plans to rebuild the economy in Gauteng as a result of power challenges due to the destruction of the economy by the COVID-19 pandemic. And they speak about how this will help even with the reduction of load shedding. So, yeah, again, they're indicating that there's additional capacity, which is why I was a bit shocked when you are saying this is the capacity that's already existed. They've just renewed the contract. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll bring the city for some clarity. Thanks for making time. That's Dr. Mpho Phalatse, who is the DA Johannesburg mayoral candidate. She says there's nothing new about this agreement that the ANC and even the City of Johannesburg made a big deal about a couple of weeks ago when this agreement was signed with the mayor of Johannesburg and even the premier of Gauteng, this additional 100 megawatt capacity. The DA says there's nothing new here. We've always been getting this capacity from the Calvin Power Station. We should get some clarity from the city on this.